It's Friday, May 10th, 2024. Welcome to episode 102 of the Alameda Postcast, an audio service of the Alameda Post. I'm your host, Scott Peeler. In this edition of the Postcast, the City Council once again tackles the issue of illegal automotive sideshows. The aerosol sea salt experiments on the Hornet are shut down by the city. First Webster, now Park, restriping reshapes the looks of our retail thoroughfares. APD makes fentanyl test kits available for free. Alameda's having an impact on pro sports. Good news from our schools, and congratulations again to Faction Brewing. These stories and more on this episode of the Alameda Postcast. Our top story: unpermitted automotive sideshows are, to say the least, contentious. To some, they're simply folks letting off steam and sharing their passion. But to many, the noise, trash, traffic, air pollution, property damage, and reckless driving go well beyond the definition of a fun afternoon out. Sideshows were the main topic at Tuesday's City Council meeting. Sideshows can and do have a negative effect on area businesses. Todd Hickman, winemaker at Building 43 Winery, suffered losses when a recent sideshow caused him to shut down his winery for an entire Saturday. In the last 6 months, sideshows have started in the parking lots and streets near the USS Hornet Museum and at the intersection of Monarch Street and West Tower Avenue. This is the area near Almanac Brewery and Admiral Maltings. City staff are also concerned about West Midway Avenue between Monarch and Lexington Streets, given its broad width and reports of reckless driving. I've personally seen quite a few drivers flexing on West Midway. It's disruptive at best, dangerous at worst. City Manager Jennifer Ott reported that an interdepartmental team with representatives from her office, Public Works, Base Reuse and Economic Development, and the Alameda Police Department is implementing a multifaceted response, including modifying the Alameda Point environment to reduce large open areas and strategically deploying APD resources. Prevention measures have been instituted, including lockable gates on portions of West Hornet Avenue and Ferry Point, as well as new fences to restrict access to the parking lot from Ferry Point and West Ticonderoga Avenue. Temporary asphalt curbs at critical locations to narrow and define travel lanes and reduce street intersection sizes on West Tower Avenue, West Midway Avenue, and Monarch Street. Perhaps most importantly, APD is conducting intelligence efforts to discover planned events. By finding out about the event before they happen, they can dissuade promoters and call on additional resources such as the California Highway Patrol to discourage attendance should the organizers choose to proceed. As you can imagine, once an event is underway, enforcement becomes much more difficult. One of the suggested tools for dealing with sideshows: drones. Drones have become an increasingly valuable tool for first responders dealing with situations from high-risk warrants to active shooters. While some members of the public expressed concerns over privacy issues and the potential for profiling abuses, APD looks to align their policies for drones with the best practices from the American Civil Liberties Union. Council directed staff to return at a future meeting with a public hearing to consider purchasing and using drones for sideshows and other critical incident response and enforcement. In other council business, new members were appointed to the Mayor's Economic Development Advisory Panel. The final report and recommendations from the Alameda Fire Department Community Risk Assessment and Standards of Cover and Deployment Analysis were received. Among the recommendations, replacing Station 5 on Ranger Road. That station has been closed since 2009 and currently stores reserve equipment. Station 2 on Pacific is also listed as a candidate for replacement or refurbishment. Council also adopted a new floodplain management chapter for the city's general plan. For a complete look at Tuesday's meeting, including links to various reports, see Karen Jensen's article at alamedapost.com/news. Back in episode 97, I reported to you the fascinating environmental experiment that was being conducted from the deck of the USS Hornet: the spraying of salt water into the atmosphere to study the effects of reflecting sunlight back towards space. The experiment, organized by researchers from the University of Washington, received a large write-up in the New York Times. But on Saturday, May 4th, the city released a public notice saying that it had stopped the experiment on the grounds that it was in violation with the city's lease with the Hornet. Hornet Executive Director Laura Fees responded, quote, "We believed that our existing permits and lease covered these activities when we started. We are committed to working with the city to meet all of their needs," end quote. The city also announced that it is working with a team of independent consultants to evaluate the health and environmental safety impacts of the spray testing, but noted that there is, quote, "no indication that the spray from the previous experiments presented a threat to human health or the environment," end quote. Findings from the city's evaluation will be presented at the City Council in June. An expert assessment published by University of Washington prior to the experiment reached a similar conclusion. Particles released during the spray testing fall below thresholds that would require additional approval or permits from state and local environmental regulatory agencies. Again, we're talking about spraying salt water into the air. For full details on the story, including the science behind the tests, along with diagrams and illustrations, see Ken Durr's article at alamedapost.com/news. In episode 99, I detailed the restriping and other changes that took place on Webster Street. Now it's Park Street's turn. As a refresher, here's what's new. On-street parking returns to the curbside. Designated disabled and short-term parking spaces will be added. Red curbs indicate areas where no parking is permitted at any time. Green concrete barriers will be installed to protect existing parklets for outdoor dining. Painted bike lanes will be added, and bike racks will be upgraded to maximize storage for all types of bicycles. Most construction will take place overnight, Monday through Friday, to minimize the impact on local business and daytime traffic. The road will not be closed, but get ready for detours, disruptions, and somewhat limited parking. Details, including links to the full scope of the project, are at alamedapost.com/news. According to the Centers for Disease Control, fentanyl accounted for 70% of all drug overdose deaths in the U.S. in 2022. While California led the nation in deaths due to fentanyl, that was a function of California's large population. Per capita, California is about in the middle with a rate of 16.4 deaths per 100,000 residents. That is the lowest of the West Coast states and sharply better than much of the East Coast. Still a major problem. To help combat this, the Alameda Police Department is now offering free fentanyl testing kits. As noted on the department's Facebook page, quote, "The resource is part of APD's ongoing commitment to promoting public health and safety in our community. Fentanyl strips help detect the presence of this dangerous synthetic opioid, allowing individuals to make informed decisions about substance use." End quote. For details on the program, see alamedapost.com/news. Alameda making itself known in the world of pro sports. Let's look at the latest. Bryan Woo set to return to the mound in Seattle tonight, Friday, as the Mariners host the Oakland A's. Bryan was stellar in his 3 rehab starts with AAA Tacoma, pitching just over 11 innings, all scoreless, and he did not allow a single walk. Bryan's also on the schedule Wednesday in Seattle against the Royals. Another local name hitting the national spotlight. If you, or especially your high schooler, has taken golf lessons at Carica Park, you might have had Brad Marek as your teaching pro. A resident of Berkeley, Marek has been teaching at Carica Park for 5 years. Later this month, he's headed to the PGA Championship at Valhalla Golf Club in Louisville, Kentucky. Brad also played in the 2021 championship at Kiowa in South Carolina, where he made the cut for the weekend and finished 78th at 12 over par. Not bad for a tournament where only 16 players finished under par. Brad is looking forward to heading to Kentucky a week early, getting in some good practice rounds. Kelsey Gore has spent some time with Brad and brings us a great story of his journey as a professional golfer and how teaching reignited his love for the game. Find her article at alamedapost.com/sports. While you're there, you'll want to read about the Oakland Roots. They made it to the round of 32 in the U.S. Open Cup tournament. On Tuesday, they faced the San Jose Earthquakes of Major League Soccer. The USL Roots held their own until the 76th minute when Oseni Buda netted the only goal of the match, leading San Jose to a 1-0 win. A valiant effort from the Roots, but now it's back to USL play in New Mexico this Saturday. Follow the Roots all season long at alamedapost.com/sports. Some quick school notes. Both Alameda High and Encinal listed on the U.S. News & World Report list of the 2024 best U.S. high schools. Lincoln Middle School science teacher Jennifer Hartigan is headed to the Antarctic in December thanks to the National Geographic Society. And congrats to the Alameda High School student musicians for their hardware haul at the World Strides Performing Arts Heritage Festival in New York City, taking first place in jazz, symphonic, and string orchestra. For more details on school happenings, see Susan Davis's article at alamedapost.com/news. Congratulations to Faction Brewing. For the second year in a row, they took home the gold in the International Pale Ale category at the World Beer Cup. Their Pale 586 was honored at the competition in Las Vegas. As I've said before, you don't need to leave Alameda to find world-class beer. Congrats to Roger, Claudia, and everyone at Faction. Walking History Tour this Saturday and Sunday as Dennis Evanosky and Adam Gillett explore Grand Street, Otis Drive to Santa Clara Avenue. Details and tickets at alamedapost.com/tours. alamedapost.com/events for a guide to what's going on in Alameda. Saturday, as always, the Farmers Market from 9 until 1. Saturday afternoon brings the Alameda On Camera reception at the Frank Bett Center. Saturday night, the play Words That Made the Difference, Brown vs. Board of Education returns to Rhythmics Cultural Center. More events at alamedapost.com/events. Thank you for your support of local news for Alameda. To give a tax-deductible donation, head to alamedapost.com/memberships. As always, follow us on social media, and this weekend to all the moms, grandmoms, stepmoms, moms-in-law, and moms-in-fact, happy Mother's Day. Find the Postcast wherever you get your podcasts, or just tell your smart device to play the Alameda Postcast podcast. I'm Scott Peeler, back next Friday with episode 103 of the Alameda Postcast.